Hi everyone, I'm Tammy Davis, and I thought I would do a video this time with regards to why I am so adamant about oils and combining oils with nutrition, actually calling it, intentional nutrition and oils. It's a little bit different than what you're accustomed to hearing me say and talk about, because I do like the clinical aspect of using oils, and I do like the clinical aspect of, I'm fascinated by the body. Let me just say it that way. The human body and the way our system functions is just beyond exciting to me. And I can sit and study and talk about all day long how the system works, and I can find myself going down the rabbit hole, but in a good way. I think a while ago I actually had come to the distinction that the more we seek to understand, the more there is to understand. We can get ourselves really, really wrapped up in wanting to know, needing to find the answers, and then it comes back to infinity. There's always going to be something to learn or understand, and we can really complicate matters. And so I find myself balancing between going for it and just really understanding it, and then pulling back in order to simplify it, because my desire is to help people, and my desire is to teach people how to do this. And yes, we have, there's so much to understand in the biochemistry of the body. And at the same time, it's really very simple. It comes down to all the same chemistry. So I go back and forth. But again, like I say, it fascinates me, and I can really occupy my time, and it serves a purpose, because it actually helps me get clear in my own head what's actually going on, and it actually answers an awful lot, and provides proof of what I've been saying. And at the same time, I pull back because, there has to be an easier way to go about doing this. And so when I recognize and I see how these systems work together, and I see it's all the same chemistry or variations thereof, my head goes in other directions, because I become so filled and inspired with other things that it's like trying to bridge it all, trying to tie it all together so that it makes sense for you, and for as many people who want to find a different way of actually healing. Yeah, that's what I want to say. Find a different way to heal. The only thing that heals the body is the body itself. The only true energy that actually sources us is love. Fear may inspire us, and trigger us to do things to protect our health. So there's a balance between fear and love. And but really coming from a genuine place of understanding and connection. And so when I look at the world and I see how much is going on, I walked by one of our local churches is starting to teach mindfulness classes, because so many people are so overwhelmed with everything that's going on in the world. There's a huge disconnect. And I walked away from that sign feeling very inspired to actually do this video. Because the truth is, the way I see the world, so that's my truth. The way I see the world is, it's a huge disconnect. And then when I look at the macrocosm and the microcosm, our bodies being the microcosm, me being a microcosm of the macrocosm, and you being the microcosm of the macrocosm, it's just, what I'm saying is it's representative of one of the other. We're all in this together. We're all, I'm sorry I'm stumbling, but I don't want to stop this, because this is real. And let me just collect my thoughts for a moment. What I'm getting at is connection. That's the word that's in my head right now. And I'm trying to make sense of this. I'm trying to connect the dots to make sense here. But it comes down to connection. And when we feel disconnected from our own people, from our tribe, from our families, from our friends, from our coworkers, when we feel disconnected, we feel there's a distress, right? There's upset, there's concern. This is what's going on inside the body. So this is what I mean by macrocosm versus microcosm. So our external world is the macrocosm, is representative of what's going on inside of us. We hear this all the time with other leaders who are telling us and writing books about the external world as a representation of our internal world, as above, so below, right? You know, what you see out there is representative of what's going on the inside. And people have a really hard time with this because it's really difficult to believe that, you know, that the discord that we're seeing in the world actually exists within us. But how many of us are actually living with health conditions? You know, I ask that question in all sincerity. There's nobody that's immune to a health issue. Truth be told, I'm going to say everybody has a health issue. Every one of us has a neuroendocrine issue. How the severity of it is, it just depends on the individual, depends on what they're doing, it depends on how they think. But it's, we're all walking around with these neuroendocrine imbalances, and a lot of it comes from the fact that we feel so disconnected from what's going on. We feel hopeless, we feel helpless, we wonder what in the world, how we're ever going to overcome this. And so it's that disconnect that inspires me to do what I do, and why I am such a proponent of the oils. And like I said, pairing it with very intentionally with very specific foods or types of foods. Over time, you don't have to do that as much. Well, it becomes second nature, and the body, you begin to work in tune with the body. The plan is to actually inspire connection inward, inside, in order to see it out here. You know, be the change you wish to see in the world. If you want peace in the world, we have to find peace within ourselves. I was in an Amish home the other day, and her husband is dealing with Epstein-Barr. He's been dealing with it for 7 weeks. They're not getting the results that they like. And so I'm beginning to work with them. And one of the things she said to me, because her husband is rather low, and very, very, you know, and understandably so, he's exhausted. For one. Two, he's got a histamine issue, and severe histamine issue. It's autoimmune. And histamine is linked to depression. So, yeah. Anyway, she says to me, you know, there was a sign in the waiting room that was talking about how anger affects the immune system versus happiness, you know, having the counter effect on the immune system. And I've seen pictures like that on Instagram, on Facebook, you know, you name it, you see them everywhere. And it's appreciated, very much appreciated, because truly being happy is where it's at. It makes all the difference in the world. You know that when you're sick and don't feel good, or when you're scared or you're sad, let's put it that way, when you're scared and sad, you don't feel well. When you're happy and something great just happened, you feel like you're just full of energy, so you feel energized. So there is a distinct difference between feeling angry and feeling happy. But to just go out and say, be happy, to so many people who are struggling because that inner peace is missing. And I explained to her that that's a lot easier said than done, because there's a lot of people who can't get there. And this is, again, where I come in with the oils, because the oils will actually help regulate the neuroendocrine system and begin to make a difference, and finding that sense of peace, being able to distinguish being happy. I was working with a South African man several years ago, and his comment to me was he wanted to be happy, but telling him that happiness was a choice made him mad. And this was long before I recognized just how beneficial and how difficult it is to say that. I mean, I guess in my own way, he represented me because I was having a hard time. I was putting on a good face, but I wasn't feeling it. And I actually wrote something about that recently. It's one thing to say, be happy. It's a whole nother thing to feel it. You can walk around with a fake smile on, but if you're not feeling it, then you're not doing your body any good. So again, the oils actually breathe life into our cells. Their molecules match our cell receptors. They actually can regulate and modify our neuroimmunity, and therefore helping us to begin to feel stronger, helping to energize us. It's not about going out and trying to inject yourself like with caffeine. It's not that form of energy. It's actually helping the body, the neuroendocrine system, to regulate itself in such a way that actually, oh my goodness. Hope everyone's okay out there. It's about, pardon me, I lost my train of thought there for a moment. Anyway, it's about regulating the neuroendocrine system. So the oils actually breathe life. That's not about choosing happiness. It's about beginning to find it and feel it. More importantly, is beginning to feel the happiness. Which brings me to the point of this entire video. There is, what am I trying to say? There is a consciousness to the oils. Maybe I'm stumbling because this is making me nervous talking about this because I'm so used to doing it on a clinical level. But I am here to bridge the gap between consciousness and science. That's really what I'm here to do. And I was thinking about this yesterday, and when I went out for my morning meditation walk, and that is really finding it within ourselves. Right now what I'm thinking about is the aggravation and the frustration and the concerns that we have about our world, how easily aggravated we get at people. Like we just heard that man yell out. I don't know who he was yelling at or what he was yelling for. But we hear these all the time. And so being able to wish them well, wish them an easier afternoon, bless the situation when it's difficult. Know that there's a higher purpose to this, that the intention or the purpose for this was for you to experience this and find a different way to go through it. We can reframe the way we think about things in order to bring peace. I hear this all the time about positive thinking, and again, unless somebody can feel it, positive thinking can only go so far. I'm all about the feeling. If you don't feel it, man, you're just not getting it. It's not sinking in. The cells are not assimilating it. And so therefore, when you hear and you're engaged with or exposed to stressful situations, being able to acknowledge that as an experience, bless it, forgive it, wish them well, wish them enough, breathe in, and then just exhale good wishes for them. It may not have any impact on them. They may not even hear it. More than likely, they won't hear it because oftentimes we're going to be saying it to ourselves. But just that deep inhale and that deep exhale massages our autonomic nervous system. It actually brings a sense of peace to the autonomic nervous system. And you are now affecting a different chemical reaction within the body and beginning to restore your sense of wellness. This is where we get into the healing. It's really healing ourselves with our own experience of the world and allowing whatever to be. And then I really believe this. This isn't to say that I don't want to be considered a Pollyanna. I would love to live in an ideal world, but the truth is we live in a pretty radical world. And but being able to find that peace within ourselves, because see, here's what happens when we find that peace within ourselves, and we incorporate the essential oils and the foods that we've been given on a purposeful level, we begin to interact with the world differently. And this is considered the 100th monkey, the ripple effect. I mean, this is really where it comes down to the ripple effect of how we interact with the world. This is really where the microcosm begins to affect the macrocosm, thereby altering our experience of the world. I wish I could take away all the negativity and the pain and the harm that goes on a daily basis. But I can't. But I can take away the challenges and the harm that occur within inside of myself and begin to interact with other people. It's interesting, when I go out every morning, the number of people that I encounter, or every day when I walk around, and how many people don't smile. How many people don't say hello back? I make a point to an attempt to make eye contact and say hello or good morning or have a good day. And many times I encounter people who just don't even want to look at me. So at that point, I just kind of wish them well. And it takes the aggravation away from me. It takes it, like, oh, well, they think they're good enough. They think they're better than me, or they're, whatever our minds can do, the way we jump into quick judgment. I don't want that anymore in my life. And I attribute a lot of this to the fact that I do practice yoga every day, and I do incorporate oils every day. I've been working with oils for almost 30 years, more intentionally over the last 5 years. And I say intentionally, I mean more specific to my individual needs, like really paying attention to what is going on within my body, recognizing where there's an imbalance. I'm working with it on a systemic level, but at the same time, I also choose oils that I know that are going to be beneficial. But again, the more I use them, so yes, I'm using them on a clinical level. This is where the science and the consciousness become bridged. Yes, I am using them on a clinical level. I am acknowledging various symptoms, various needs that my body has, and incorporating them that way. I'm very intentional about the foods that I eat. It doesn't mean I'm 100% and I'm just 100% clean. I like stuff like everybody else, I just want my body to break it down better, which is why I use the oils. And then I do, and then again, I'm very select in how I, constantly working with my digestive system. So I come at my body from a very clinical way. At the same time, I include live foods into my day. I also include the oils several times throughout the day. And I fully believe that there is a consciousness between the live oils. There's a vital force. If you don't like the word consciousness, let me call it a vital force. We know there's a vital force in plants when you can look at them and you can turn them and they'll move with the sunlight. There's a chemical reaction that's occurring in there. There's something that's happening. There's something that occurs in trees that are along the coastline that are exposed to high winds coming off the ocean, that they can bend in such dramatic ways and then come back up. I mean, we know there's something in them. We know that there's a vital force within a seed. I mean, a seed is buried in the dirt, in the dark, and yet it rises. Okay, so there is a vital force, and depending on what they're exposed to on a daily basis, because they're exposed to things as well. The function of plants, again, is another fascinating thing for me, such as the way they can send out signals to other plants when there's a threat, whether it be a virus or a bacteria or a parasite. They actually will signal one another. Their chemistry is altered in such a way that sends signals out to other plants, that the other plants begin to alter their chemistry as a form of protection. So there is a conscious intelligence that's within them, and this information is provided for in the essential oils. The oils are, they're not alive in the sense that you could plant them and grow them, but they do contain the information that was in the plant, and so therefore it actually sources your cells. So even though you are looking at it from a clinical perspective, the inclusion of genuine and authentic essential oils on a daily basis for your specific needs. And again, this is going to change because your body's chemistry is changing with every breath that you take, with everything that you're exposed to. But the more you include the oils, the more you're actually including, and you're incorporating consciousness, you're including that vital force, you're including all of these active ingredients into your system, and you're improving cellular function. You pair that with live foods, vital foods, whole foods, between the oils actually allowing the body to metabolize some of these phytonutrients that the body struggles to process, such as gluten and casein. These oils can actually help do that. They can actually help do that. And therefore, you can eat foods that you like. Your body can process the foods as it's designed to do. You can eliminate the unnecessary and utilize the important. This is the reason why I do the work that I do. And I wholly believe in including live foods. It's not 100%. You can include some raw foods in your day, and that paired with the oils, you've just breathed life into your cells. And that's what we're here. We're here to live. We're here to live and have fun. We're here to express ourselves, and we can't do that when our cells are dying. So it's going to take allowing the vital force. Now, I'm using that phrase on purpose because back in the late 1700s and the early 1800s, there were chemists. We had chemists, and they were studying various chemicals and really convinced that there was a vital force within plants. And they believed this up until the late 1800s when urea was discovered. Urea is a constituent of urine, and they produced urea from an inorganic compound, and therefore the birth of organic chemistry. This isn't to say that they are reproducing a vital force within the labs. They're not. So organic chemistry, and even though you look at your medications and it'll call it an organic compound, it doesn't mean it's actually alive. It means they've recreated an organic compound from inorganic compounds. And this is the beauty of our technology, and there's a lot of advantages to having this, especially in more serious health conditions. But even more importantly, including oils into your lives is imperative because you'll continue to maintain that vital force. You'll be continuing to introduce that vital force, but knowing how to do it is where it comes into play, because there are interactions, and you don't need the interactions. What you need is a synergy so that the two worlds can work together, therefore bridging consciousness and science. So this is why I do what I do, and I wanted to share this with you. We are more than these bodies. We are innately tied to nature. We were given nature to work in sync with, and that's what I'm here to do, is to help you work in sync with nature, because we've been given, these are God-given gifts, and it takes the inclusion to have a fulfilled life, an energized life, a life where happiness is just something that pours out of you, that you're able to experience through the alteration of the way you think about others, by righting the imbalances in the neuroendocrine system, so that you can be more mindful of the way you think of others, more mindful of the way you think of yourself, purposefully instilling peace into your own body, infusing yourself with peace so that your chemistry will begin to function in a way that's more supportive of long-term health, therefore creating this ripple effect into the world. And, I'm not promising miracles overnight. What I am saying is that the relief and the healing that you incur from these slight alterations in the way you go about your day will be magnified and in the world. And so on that note, I look forward to hearing from you. I'm happy to answer your questions. Tammy.davis8@gmail.com. And I hope that you hope this makes sense. And I appreciate your time. Thanks for spending it with me. And I will talk with you soon. Bye now.